Dr. Kim Nara stood at the large window of the spaceship, watching Earth become smaller and smaller. The blue planet looked so peaceful from here, but her heart was beating fast. She was scared and excited at the same time. This was the biggest day in human history. The spaceship was called Harmony, and it was carrying the first human team to meet aliens. Real aliens. After years of preparing and planning, they were finally going to meet the hegemony, the group of alien species that ruled most of the galaxy. "Dr. Kim, we're getting a message from the alien ship," said Lieutenant Park Jin-ho. He was young, maybe 25, but his hands were shaking as he worked on the communication equipment. "They want us to come over to their ship for the meeting." "Captain." Lee Sora nodded from her chair. She had been flying spaceships for 20 years, but this was different. This was meeting aliens for the first time. "Are you ready, Dr. Kim?" Nara turned away from the window. As the team's main scientist who studied life forms, she would be one of the first humans to step onto an alien ship. "I'm ready," she said, but her voice was quiet. The alien ship was huge, much bigger than any human ship. When Nara and her team walked through its halls, they saw amazing things. The walls seemed to glow with soft light. There were aliens everywhere, tall ones with skin like crystal, short ones with many eyes, and others that looked like nothing she had ever seen. Their guide was called Coordinator Vash. It could speak perfect Korean, which surprised everyone. "Your species is interesting," Vash said as they walked, "but we are worried about some things we have seen." The big meeting lasted 6 hours. Nara and her team showed the aliens all the good things humans had done. They talked about how Earth had no more poor people, how humans had built homes on 12 different planets, and how they had made clean energy that didn't hurt the environment. They explained how all the countries on Earth now worked together in peace. The alien leaders listened, but didn't say much. Finally, Vash spoke. "We have talked about this. Your species is like 47 other species we have seen before. You grow fast, you make new technology quickly, and you spread to many places. Of those 47 species, 43 became dangerous to everyone in the galaxy. We had to ... manage them." Nara felt cold suddenly. "What do you mean by manage?" "Your species will be spread apart. Your colonies will be moved to different places so you cannot become a threat to galactic peace. This is not something we will discuss. It is something we must do." The attack started as the human team was walking back to their ship. Nara watched in horror as alien warships surrounded the Harmony. Their weapons began to charge up with bright, scary lights. Captain Lee Sora's voice came over the radio. "Everyone, get ready for emergency." The first blast hit their ship and tore a big hole in the side. Nara was thrown against the wall as alarms started ringing everywhere. The noise and chaos, she could hear reports coming in from all over human space. Their colonies were being attacked. Earth's defense ships were being destroyed. Space stations around Earth were burning. The Harmony tried to escape to the nearest star system, but the engines were badly damaged. As they crashed onto the frozen surface of a small moon, Nara crawled to a broken window. She could see the fires where humanity's proud fleet used to be. The alien ships hung in space like dark clouds. They had done this before, 43 times, 2 other species. They knew exactly how to break apart a civilization in just one day. Nara pressed her face against the cold glass and cried. Earth was so far away now. All the human colonies were being destroyed or scattered. Families were being separated. People were being sent to dangerous, empty worlds where they might not survive. The hegemony had torn humanity apart in a single day, but they had made one mistake. They thought that breaking humans apart would make them weak. They thought that scattering them across the galaxy would make them disappear. They were wrong. As Nara watched the distant fires, she didn't know that this was not the end of humanity's story. It was just the beginning. Aliens had just given humanity something very valuable. They had given them the whole galaxy to grow in. The survivors would have to learn to live in places no human had ever lived before. They would have to become stronger, smarter, and more creative than they had ever been. They would have to find each other again across the vast emptiness of space. The hegemony thought they had solved the human problem. Instead, they had just made it much bigger. 50 years had passed since the terrible day when the aliens broke humanity apart. The small settlement called New Sol was now home to people who had never seen a warm sun. They lived deep underground in ice caves on a frozen moon, and they had learned to love their cold, dark world. Dr. Kim Nara was now 73 years old. Her hair was white, and her hands were wrinkled, but her eyes were still bright. She watched young Cho Mina working on the heating machines that kept their underground homes warm. The girl was only 20, but she could fix anything. "The heat readings look good, Elder Kim," Mina said, her breath making small clouds in the cold air. "I changed some parts, and now we get 20% more heat with the same energy." Nara smiled. When the Harmony crashed on this frozen moon, only 47 people had survived. 3 generations later, over 2,000 people lived in New Sol. These young people had never seen Earth, but they had built something amazing in the ice. "Tell me about the other settlements," Nara said, sitting in her favorite chair near the warm spot where hot water came up from deep underground. Mina's face lit up with excitement. She was part of the new generation, young people who had grown up hearing stories about humans scattered across the galaxy. The engineer from Section 7 thinks he found signs of farming on the asteroid belt near Kepler 442, and our long-distance scanners picked up metal digging that looks like human technology. Nara nodded. She'd always hoped that other humans had survived out there somewhere, far across the galaxy. Other human communities had learned to survive in places that would have killed their grandparents. On an asteroid colony called Ganymede, station engineer Han Wook had figured out how to move huge rocks using gravity machines. His people lived in the empty space between planets, mining precious metals and building cities inside floating rocks. The most amazing survivors lived on a death world called Prometheus 3. The air there was poison. The gravity was 3 times stronger than Earth's, and the radiation would kill a normal human in minutes. But warrior leader Yunde and his people had adapted. They were stronger, faster, and tougher than any human had ever been. They could breathe the poison air and walk in the deadly radiation like it was nothing. Each group of survivors had become experts at living in their harsh worlds. The ice world people like Nara had become masters of fusion energy and keeping warm in impossible cold. The asteroid miners had learned to control gravity and pull valuable metals from space rocks. The Death World survivors had developed amazing technology for staying alive in places where everything tried to kill them. The alien Gemini watched all these scattered human groups, but they were not worried. Their reports said the humans were slowly dying out and becoming more primitive. The alien scientists who wrote these reports thought the humans were getting weaker and less advanced. In the official alien records, humanity was listed as a successful case of threat management. The aliens believed they had solved the human problem perfectly, but the aliens were making a big mistake. They were only looking at numbers and technology readings. They didn't understand what was really happening to humanity. On New Sol, Mina was teaching children how to survive in temperatures that would freeze a normal human solid in seconds. She was also working on new inventions that could make energy from ice and build stronger shelters from frozen water. Ganymede Station Han Wook was developing machines that could move asteroids the size of mountains. His people had learned to live their entire lives in zero gravity, and they could build cities in space that were more advanced than anything on old Earth. On Prometheus 3, Hyundai was training warriors who could fight in any environment, because people had developed personal shields, air cleaners, and weapons that worked in extreme conditions. They had become something more than human. They had become survivors who could live anywhere. The most important thing the aliens missed was that these scattered humans were starting to remember each other. Young people like Mina spent their free time trying to send messages into space, hoping to find other human settlements. Engineers like Han Wook built stronger and stronger communication equipment. Reaching further and further into the galaxy, each human settlement was becoming an expert at something different. But they all shared the same dream: to find their lost brothers and sisters among the stars. The aliens had scattered humanity, thinking it would make them weak. Instead, they had given humans the greatest gift possible. They had forced them to become adaptable. Every human settlement was now a specialist in surviving impossible conditions. The Ice World humans knew secrets of energy and warmth. The asteroid miners knew secrets of gravity and space construction. The Death World survivors knew secrets of strength and survival. And slowly, very slowly, they were beginning to share these secrets with each other. The hegemony's reports still said humanity was declining and no longer a threat. But deep in the frozen caves of New Sol, in the asteroid cities of Ganymede Station, and in the toxic strongholds of Prometheus 3, something new was growing. Humanity was not dying. It was learning to bloom in every corner of the galaxy. The discovery happened by accident. Communications specialist Song Huan was fixing a broken radio tower when his scanner picked up something strange. It was a signal using old human codes. Codes from before the scattering. Song Huan worked for 3 weeks, day and night, trying to understand the signal. His hands shook with excitement when he finally decoded the message. It was from another group of humans, somewhere far away. In space, Elder Kim, he said, running into the council room where the settlement leaders met. We're not alone out here. The message was simple but powerful. This is Engineer Kong Boara of Mining Station Atlas 7. If anyone gets this message, we are alive. We remember Earth. We remember our home. Elder Kim Nara felt tears in her eyes. For 50 years she had wondered. If other humans had survived, now she knew the answer. Song Huan worked harder than he had ever worked in his life. He had built bigger and stronger radio equipment. He sent messages in every direction using every frequency he could think of. And slowly, answers started coming back. First, there was Engineer Kong Bawara from the asteroid mining station. Then came warrior leader Yunde from the Death World. After that, messages arrived from ice planets, gas giant moons, and even humans, living inside the atmospheres of stars. We've made contact with 17 different human settlements, Song Huan reported to the council 6 months later. Each group has a different story, but they all survived. Stories were amazing. The asteroid miners had learned to move huge rocks using gravity machines. They lived in cities built inside floating mountains of metal and stone. They had become so good at mining that they could pull rare metals from the tiniest space rocks. Death World survivors had become something almost superhuman. They could survive in poison air, extreme gravity, and deadly radiation. They had built personal shields that could protect them from almost anything. Their weapons and tools were more advanced than anything the old Earth military had ever dreamed. Of Dr. Shin Yuna, New Sol's head scientist, was amazed by what she learned. We're not just sharing messages, she told the council. We're sharing knowledge. The asteroid miners' gravity techniques could help us build better buildings. The Death World air cleaners could let us move to the surface of our moon. The network grew every month. More and more human settlements joined the conversation. Each group shared their special knowledge and skills. The Ice World humans taught others how to make fusion energy and stay warm in extreme cold. The asteroid miners showed how to build in zero gravity and control massive objects. The Death World survivors shared their secrets of making advanced weapons and survival gear, but the most important thing they shared was hope. For the first time in 50 years, humans knew they were not alone in the galaxy. Young Cho, Mina, now 25 and one of New Sol's best engineers, spent her days talking to humans on other worlds. She learned how to build gravity machines from Han Wook on Ganymede Station. She studied shield technology from Yunde on Prometheus 3. She taught others how to make better fusion reactors using Ice World techniques. We're becoming something. New Mina told Elder Kim one evening as they watched the stars through their underground observatory. We're not the same humans who lived on Earth before the scattering. Or something better. The alien hegemony's surveillance systems noticed the increased radioactivity from human settlements, but their scientists were not worried. Their reports said the humans were just making primitive attempts at long-distance communication. The alien analysts thought the scattered humans were trying to talk to each other because they were lonely and afraid. The official alien report still described humanity as technologically declining and adapting poorly to scattered environments. The hegemony believed their threat management had worked perfectly, but the aliens were completely wrong. They were looking at the wrong things. They saw increased radio chatter and thought it meant the humans were getting desperate. They didn't understand that the humans were actually sharing the greatest collection of survival knowledge in galactic history. Each human settlement had become an expert at living in impossible conditions. The ice world humans knew how to make energy from frozen water and build cities in temperatures that would kill most life forms. The asteroid miners knew how to manipulate gravity and construct massive structures in space. The Death World survivors knew how to fight, survive, and thrive in the most dangerous environments in the galaxy. Now, for the first time, all of this knowledge was being shared. A human engineer on an ice world could learn asteroid mining techniques. A Death World warrior could study ice world energy systems. An asteroid miner could understand Death World survival methods. The network was creating something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that was specialized for every possible environment but still connected and working together. The aliens thought they were breaking us apart, Songwan said as he fine-tuned the communication equipment that now reached across half the galaxy. But they were actually connecting us to every corner of space. They gave us the whole galaxy to learn from. The humans were no longer the scattered, broken survivors the aliens thought they were. They were becoming a network of specialists, each adapted to extreme conditions, all sharing their knowledge and growing stronger together. The real test would come when the aliens finally realized their mistake. 200 years after the scattering, the alien hegemony leaders were getting worried. Director Vash Prime, the great-grandson of the original coordinator Vash, sat in his office reading reports that made no sense. The scattered human population should have died out 50 years ago, his chief analyst reported. But instead, we're seeing population growth in multiple star systems. Some settlements show signs of very advanced technology. Vash Prime slammed his hand on the desk. That's impossible. We've done this 43 times before with other species. It always works. Deploy the cleaning fleets. Kill all the remaining humans before they can become a real threat. The hegemony had made this same decision 43 times before. It had never failed. But humanity was no longer the same species they had scattered to. Centuries ago, the first alien fleet arrived at New Sol, expecting to find a dying group of primitive survivors hiding in ice caves. Instead, they found Commander Cho Mina, now 70 years old, and the settlement's military leader calmly preparing for a battle she had been planning for decades. Phase 1, start now, Mina announced into her communication device. Her words traveled instantly across the galaxy to dozens of human settlements. Each group knew exactly what to do. The asteroid miners were ready. Engineer Han Wook, now an old man but still sharp, used his gravity machines to move the entire asteroid belt. Millions of space rocks formed a deadly barrier around the alien fleet. The enemy ships were trapped with no way to escape. "Wait, what's happening?" shouted the alien fleet commander, as his ships found themselves surrounded by flying mountains of rock and metal. At the same time, the Death World survivors came out of hiding. Warrior leader Yunde had trained his people for this, a moment their entire lives. Their ships appeared from nowhere, using stealth technology that made them invisible until they were ready to attack. The alien weapons fired at the human ships. But something impossible happened. The energy blasts didn't destroy the human vessels. Instead, the Death World survivors' shields absorbed the alien weapons' power and sent it back at them. "Our weapons are useless," reported an alien gunner. "Their shields are actually getting stronger when we shoot at them." The battle was unlike anything the aliens had ever experienced. The humans didn't fight like any species they had encountered before. They used tactics that seemed to come from surviving in impossible conditions. The ice world humans had built their ships to survive in the coldest parts of space. When the aliens tried to freeze their engines, the human ships kept working perfectly. The asteroid miners' ships could change direction instantly using gravity manipulation. It's making them impossible to hit with normal weapons. Most terrifying of all, the Death World survivors fought like they had nothing to lose. Their warriors boarded alien ships wearing armor that protected them from every weapon the aliens had. They moved through the enemy vessels like ghosts, shutting down systems and taking control of entire ships without killing anyone. How is this possible? the alien fleet commander demanded, as his flagship was slowly taken over by human boarders. Your species was scattered and broken. You were supposed to die out. The answer came from all the human settlements at once, their voices speaking together across the galaxy. You scattered us across impossible environments and expected us to die. Instead, you taught us to survive anywhere. You gave us 200 years to adapt, to grow, to learn from each other. We are no longer the species you tried to break apart. Engineer Han Wook's voice came clearly through the communication system. We learned to live in the vacuum of space, in poison atmospheres, in gravity fields that crush normal matter. We learned to build with asteroids, to fight with plasma, to survive in conditions that would kill most life in the galaxy. Commander Mina added, You thought breaking us apart would make us weak. Instead, you made us specialists. Every human settlement became experts at surviving different impossible conditions. Then we shared that knowledge with each other. The battle lasted 3 days, but it was never really a battle. It was a demonstration. The human settlements worked together like parts of a single organism, each contributing their special abilities to achieve a common goal. When it was over, the alien fleet was not destroyed. Instead, it was converted. Human engineers had quietly taken control of the alien ship's computers. Deathworld warriors had peacefully captured the crews. Iceworld diplomats had negotiated the surrender of alien officers, who suddenly realized they were facing opponents they couldn't understand. The aliens had created their own worst nightmare. They had taken a single species and forced it to adapt to every possible environment in the galaxy. They had given humanity 2 centuries to develop specialized survival skills, and then learn to share those skills with each other. We are no longer the threat you feared, Commander Mina said to the captured alien fleet commander. We are something much more dangerous to your way of thinking. We are a species that can survive anywhere, work together across impossible distances, and turn any challenge into an opportunity to grow stronger. The hegemony had just learned that sometimes, when you try to break something apart, you accidentally teach it how to become unbreakable. The Great Council Hall had stood for 10,000 years, but it had never seen a day like this. Representatives from every alien species in the galaxy sat in their ancient seats, all looking at the human woman standing in the center of the massive room. Representative Kim Naraseven was the great-granddaughter of the original Dr. Kim Nara, who had survived the scattering. She stood calmly before the most powerful beings in the galaxy, her voice clear and strong. Honored members of the council, she began. 200 years ago, you made a choice based on fear. You saw humanity growing fast and decided we would become a threat. You were right about one thing. We did become something you never expected, but not a threat. Something much better. Behind her, huge screens showed pictures of the galaxy as it was now. Human settlements existed everywhere inside gas giant atmospheres, out on the surfaces of neutron stars, even in the empty void between galaxies. But the most amazing thing was what these settlements were doing. The Christek Collective and the Vorthan Empire fought wars for 3,000 years, Nara continued. Could never make peace because they couldn't survive in each other's environments. Human settlers learned to live in both worlds and became the neutral ground where they could finally talk to each other. The alien council members leaned forward with interest. They had watched those 2 species destroy entire star systems in their endless war. They were working together on joint projects. The Spiral Arm Mining Company was destroying whole planets to get rare metals, Nara explained. Human engineers showed them gravitational techniques that could extract the same resources without hurting anyone. Now they mine asteroids instead of planets, and everyone benefits. Council member Vash Prime, the great-grandson of the original coordinator Vash, spoke up. You were scattered to prevent you from taking over the galaxy. Instead, you have become part of every aspect of galactic society. How do we know you won't try to control everything eventually? Nara smiled. It was a warm, genuine smile that reminded everyone that despite all their adaptations, humans were still fundamentally the same species that had once lived peacefully on a single blue planet. Because controlling the galaxy would require us to stop growing, to stop adapting, to stop learning new things, she said. That would make us something we could never be. You tried to break us by scattering us to the winds. Instead, you taught us the most important lesson in the universe: how to bloom wherever we land. The evidence was everywhere. Human communities had become the galaxy's connecting tissue. Human explorers were pushing into unknown regions of space that other species were too afraid to visit. Human traders were making it possible for completely different species to do business together. Human warriors were defending worlds that couldn't protect themselves. Most importantly, human diplomats were solving problems that had seemed impossible for thousands of years. They could do this because they had learned to adapt to any environment, which meant they could understand and work with any species. "We want to propose something new," Nara said. "Not domination, but cooperation.
Domination, not control, but partnership."
We have learned that real strength doesn't come from everyone being the same, but from everyone being different and working together." She gestured to the screens behind her, which now showed amazing scenes from across the galaxy. Humans and aliens working together on projects that neither could have completed alone. Space stations built using human ice world engineering and alien crystal technology. Farms that grew food in impossible conditions using human death world techniques and alien bioscience. "Look at what we've built together," Nara said. "Humans living in the atmosphere of gas giants are helping whale-like aliens who couldn't survive on solid planets. Humans adapted to high radiation environments are working with energy beings who couldn't interact with normal matter. Humans who learned to survive in zero gravity are building cities with species who never developed space travel." The vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, the hegemony charter was changed. The new principle of adaptive integration said that species should be scattered, not to destroy them, but to help them find their perfect place in the galactic community. As the historic session ended, Nara stood on the observation deck of the council hall, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human communities were thriving in environments that would have been impossible for their ancestors. They were living proof that destruction could become transformation. A young alien approached her, a member of a species that had been scattered by the hegemony just 50 years ago. "Representative Kim," the alien said, "my people are struggling to survive on the worlds where we were sent. Do you think, could humans help us learn to adapt like you did?" Nara put her hand on the young alien's shoulder. "That's exactly what we're here for," she said. "We learned that the universe is full of impossible challenges and amazing opportunities. The trick is learning to see the challenges as opportunities in disguise." The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. Humanity, scattered across every corner of space, had finally found their true purpose: not to conquer the stars, but to help every species find their place among them. The hegemony had tried to break them apart. Instead, they had taught humanity how to bring everyone together.